So I think we did with Von. What did Von Helmut say? Right? Yes. We're discussing the theories. Is this was a slide? The theory of chemical evolution was given by Operin Halden. Yeah. Come on. Quickly tell me. Okay. So the theory of biogenesis was disproved. Who disproved the theory of biogenesis? Spallanzani, Brady, Louis Pasteur. How do they disprove the theory? Theory of biogenesis. The Francesco Redi, he was an Italian. He was an Italian. What did he did was Italian physician. Okay, he took a flesh. Let me write down here. Ready experiment to disprove the theory, right? So what did he did? I hope everybody can see. Francesco Redi, an Italian physician, took the flesh and cooked well so that no organism were left alive. Then he placed this in 3 jars. Placed in 3 jars, of which one was covered with muslin cloth. He took the meat, muslin cloth, of which one was uncovered and third was completely covered. He kept these jars far a few days. He kept this jar for a few days. And observed that larva and maggots, or larva or maggots develop only in the uncovered jar through the flies visited the jar. Please write down, I'll explain you this. Done writing this? Okay, listen. So, what is this theory? Wait a minute. So, what is this theory said? This theory he did was he took the meat and he cooked well so that none of the organism could be alive. After that, he kept it in three jars. One jar he kept it with uncovered. The other jar he kept it closed completely, and third jar he covered with the muslin cloth. And after a few days he could see that in the jar that was kept open he could see the lava, he could see the life. Those are called maggots. And how is this life came only in the jar that was open is from the other life, not from non-living thing. It has come from the other life. So he conclude that the life is coming from the biogenesis, not from abiogenesis. Did you understood his experiment? Did you all understood his experiment? Yeah, come on quickly. Next. Next, there was a Louis Pasteur who also proved this experiment by using a swan neck flask experiment. What does he did? He took a yeast broth in a swan neck flask. Swan neck flask, and then he boiled that yeast. After that, he allowed to grow, and he just allowed it. He waited for a long time, and one more flask he took, and then he broke the neck of that flask and kept it open. He could see after a few days the one that was broken, he could see the growth. So this is because of the air that was coming, was carrying the organism into that, and that allows the organism to grow. Is it clear? Did you understood this part? Next. Swan neck experiment was done given by Louis Pasteur. What does it use? He used a swan neck flask. And what is the component he took? He took a yeast broth. Is it clear? Ma'am, what yeast broth? Yeast broth, a kind of a broth. Broth means a solution. Yeast is a food. Yeast organisms that allows the yeast becomes an organism for the other organism to grow. Other bacteria or microbial organism to grow. Clear? Okay, next. This was given by Swanneck, Louis Pasteur, so they disproved. Now, coming back to a chemogenetic theory or chemosynthetic theory that was most accepted theory, which was the most accepted theory of origin of life. Who proposed? Oparin and Haldane proposed it. Oparin, he wrote a book on origin of life. Many times the question is asked. He wrote a book on origin of life. Many times this question is asked. He had to boil to kill the organisms, kill the yeast. Why do we boil anything? To kill the bacteria, to kill the life. Why do you boil water, Yash? Most accepted theory of origin of life. Operant is the origin of life. The book was given by Origin of Life was given by Operant. Many times this question is asked. Whereas Haldane was from England, but he settled in India. Again, many times they'll ask you which among these scientists settled in India. Okay. So you have the most accepted theory for the origin of life. Operant, Origin of Life. He wrote the book, and Haldane was from England, but he settled in India. Many times they'll ask you which among the scientists settled in India. So H for Hindustan, H for India. Remember connection. Don't get confused with Operant and Haldane. Is it clear? This theory states that the life originated in the warm water of primitive ocean. Come on. This theory states that it's coming from the warm water of primitive ocean. The life originated from the ocean. Done writing? Next. So how does this came up? Let us study that. Okay. As the temperature started to cool down, you can write down here. Has there was a very torrential rain. Torrential matlab a continuous rain happened, and this lead to the forming of oceans. There was a sudden explosion. Then there was a very high temperature. The universe got expand. As it got expand, the temperature started to cool down. As it got cooled down, there was a continuous rain that took place with the continuous to years and years. The rain happened. That's called torrential rain, forming ocean water bodies. That is forming froth. Means you have water plus dissolved gases, because already the gases were formed. The water was in the form of water vapor. Now you have oceans with water vapor and with dissolved gas, that is ammonia, hydrogen, and methane. Now this forms the primitive ocean, right? As this forms the primitive ocean, what happened was but during this time there was a lot of lights,
Ma'am.
energy, thunders, UV light, thunders. These were the energy sources. Under this energy sources, along with this water molecules and the dissolved gas, this leads to a formation of aldane, ketones, alcohol. These were the simple organic compounds which were formed. Simple organic compounds formed. As this simple organic compound form, they interact among themselves to form sugars, amino acid, which are the basic units. After the basic unit, simple sugar amino acid are formed, they interact among to give a polysaccharides, proteins, carbohydrate. Polymerization happen. Once you have polysaccharides, protein, fatty acids, that leads to formation of lipids, purines, and pyrimidines. Because lipids, purines, and pyrimidines is a combination of sugar, protein, and fatty acids to the lipids. So there was a formation of purines and pyrimidines. So once you have purines and pyrimidines, the next step is a formation of nucleoside and nucleotides. Do you remember nucleotides and nucleotides? Write down this much first. Okay. Frozen. Just a minute. Wait a minute. What about now? Torrential rain. Madhura, Tej, can you see the screen? Okay. Has the temperature started to cool down? Did you all understood this part? How, what happened in the ocean? How the oceans were formed? As the was a cooling down, there was a continuous rain that gave rise to oceans, and then along with the in the oceans, the water molecule along with the gases that were formed, they interact to form simple organic compounds. Later, they interact to form simple uh, the units. This polymerized to form the carbohydrates, proteins. Polymerization took place. Then there was lipids, purines, and pyrimidines. Done. Next. Next slide. Then, once you have purines and pyrimidines, there is a formation of what? There is a formation of nucleotides and nucleosides. You know the nucleotides and nucleosides are the basic unit of genetic material. That is RNA and DNA. So you have nucleoside, nucleotides. This give rise to formation of RNA. The first, it is an enzyme. First enzyme. RNA is enzyme, if you know. So an enzyme, first enzyme, first sign of life. Why first sign of life? RNA was formed, protein was there. So RNA coated with the protein is virus, which is the first form of life, right? It's a first sign of life. Then first genetic material, first genetic material. RNA along protein was already there. So RNA along with the protein form a first non-cellular life, that was virus. Virus is killing us. After DNA got transcribed, it formed what? DNA. Then this DNA was the DNA along with protein RNA together it formed first cell, which was first prokaryotic cell, anaerobic, chemo heterotrophs. All are these important questions. Chemo heterotrophs. Chemo heterotrophs. Chemo heterotrophs. Clear? Clear? Next. Okay. Now, the chemoheterotrophs too, you got chemoautotrophs too, and write down the chemoheterotrophs. They obtain the energy from they obtain the first prokaryotes obtain energy from fermentation of organic compounds in water. They're the first cell. So they use chemo, they use chemicals. Next is chemoautotroph. They synthesize food from inorganic matter. They synthesized food from inorganic matter. Example here is iron bacteria or nitrifying bacteria. Example of this chemoautotrophs, iron bacteria or nitrifying bacteria. What they did? They used the chemical inorganic to synthesize both chemoheterotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Both used chemicals for preparing the food. After that, there was an oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria which was evolved. An important event or a change happened here. What they did? The bacteriochlorophyll developed, where example sulfur bacteria an important. They are photosynthetic but anoxygenic. They use the fixed carbon dioxide. Where there's a photosynthesis, there is a chlorophyll. This pigment trapped the solar energy and fixed the carbon dioxide. Next is example here is sulfur bacteria. This is how the evolution happened. Until now, is this atmosphere is oxidized or reduced atmosphere? Is it oxidized or reduced atmosphere? Hmm. Come on. Trap the solar energy and fix the carbon dioxide. Oxidized. If it's oxidized, why if photosynthesis why had given anoxygenic there? Prabhu Desai. Why they have to prepare the food from the chemo? They are still reduced. Disha, very good. Still there is a reduce. There is no release of oxygen. How do oxygen release? After the photosynthesis, right? The process happen and then oxygen is released. Still there is an oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria developed. There is no oxidized photosynthetic bacteria developed. Now is where the important change happened, where the through chlorophyll developed, through chlorophyll developed, that is A and B. Remember A and B developed. There is a release of free oxygen molecule. You know the photosynthesis reaction. There's a release of free oxygen molecule. Example, blue-green algae. Example, blue-green algae, or you also call as cyanobacteria, right? After this, the atmosphere become oxidized. Now, many changes happen. Later, what happened? After this, many changes happen after the prokaryotes form, oxidized environment form, oxidized conditions were formed, atmosphere was formed. Many changes happen, leading to first eukaryotic cells. That is, the first eukaryotic unicellular cell was formed around 1.5 billion years ago. Please go through this, everybody, what you have written, and do let me know if you have doubts. Ma'am, what is? But there wasn't water, right? Water was there. Ocean, the happened everything in the water. There was torrential rain. There was continuous rain for so many years. I'm telling you, there was formation of ocean, there was formation of water bodies, and you're asking me, ma'am, there was water. Yeah, there was water. If there was no water, how the ocean formed? How the water bodies were formed? Huge water body. You know that our Earth is covered with water. Any other doubt? So once the chemical evolution is completely stopped after the release of free oxygen, when the oxygen was released, the chemical evolution completely stopped. Reduced condition was changed to oxidized atmosphere. Once the chlorophyll was formed, the cyanobacteria was formed that produces a food with the release of oxygen. You know that carbon dioxide plus water gives you food, C6H12O6 glucose, that plus oxygen that is released into the atmosphere. That's why they say plant trees. Yes, blue-green algae, when you have a chlorophyll, which is a true chlorophyll of A and B, there is an oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria that is formed. Clear? Everybody go through it quickly. Yes, clear. Tej, Advaik, Prabhu Desai, Rishikesh. Rishikesh never had doubts. I don't know why. He's too attentive in the class, or he's a very studious fellow, or I'm a good teacher. He never had doubts. Why, Rishikesh? Is everything clear? No, you are the studious. See, the student, if he's attentive in the class, if because I many times I ask him and I say never doubts, never doubts, never doubts, and he scores well. Vardhan, Varad, Vardhan, Varad, any doubts? Okay, done. Kaushik. So this is about So the Halden, the broth, see, when there was an ocean, there was that soup was said to be a primordial soup. So the ocean में जो water and whatever it is with the gases, with the water, that solution was called as a primordial soup or hot dilute soup. Who called it? Halden called it. Note, this is important. Madhura, any doubts? Lisa, Shruti, Padma, Dela, Faye, is this clear? Thank you for many likes and hearts on the other side. Okay, fine, yeah. Previous slide, okay, check. Okay, done. Star, what about you? Clear? See, do remember, I have observed one thing in your batch is there are few students who are very silently learning and silently competing. It's a hint for you guys. I'm giving you. Just many students in your group who are silently learning and silently competing and preparing for the exam. So I'm telling you, be aware of this and start your preparation. Don't think कि यार लॉकडाउन चल रहा है वो तो पढ़ नहीं रहा होगा हम भी नहीं पढ़ेंगे. No, there are students who are learning. They know the track and they have started. And it's I always told you they are silent people and with the studious mind they always keep on the motivation clear and they keep their preparation on. इधर उधर क्या हो रहा है, it doesn't matter for them.
Are class is going on. What I can do? Yeah.
Somebody's mic is unmute. So please
Is
mute
it?
yourself.
Okay.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
in your batch especially. So
I
please
don't want to
keep
talk about it.
whose mic is unmute? Whose mic is unmute there?
But it's not his fault. I won't blame him.
Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah, Ole. Yeah, Ole.
Who is that? Gaurav?
And my class is going on now. I'll send physics notes. Message me once. But
He's
bro,
unaware of the
after
thing.
so invitation
Gaurav
get
is
over at
unaware of
7 o'clock. Basket. Actually,
We all wait for him. Let
online,
us finish.
online.
Let us
Yeah,
listen.
class.
He wants
Okay,
us to
teacher.
listen what he's talking. And after that, he'll get from easy.
Eh? Okay.
Gaurav, done?
No, just tell me where you ended. I'll send. Right? Just send.
He's not bothered.
Hmm. Who you? Yeah,
This,
shit.
this all you do, right? On the other side of the
Discount.
screen, you keep me talking, and other side of the screen, you're talking to your phones, your friends,
Okay.
busy on the phone.
So just a second.
Somebody
Just a
please
second.
call Gaurav if you have his number. Can you mute him? I can mute him. Okay, he mute himself. Gaurav, are you there in the class? Okay, today the call will go to him. Okay, next. Yeah, so we are done with this. I hope you understood. Let's go to the next. Now, very important. Who proposed this theory? Halden and Operant proposed this theory. Who experimentally proved it? Urey Miller experiment. They proved this theory of chemical evolution. See, in science, you always believe only when it is experimentally proved. So, Halden and Operant proposed a theory saying कि ऐसा 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 हुआ होगा. But ऐसा हुआ है कि नहीं is done by experimentally proved by Yuri Miller in the lab. So what they did, they created the same atmosphere in the lab. How did they did? With this experiment. So draw this. This is important. This is a thing which is given in your NCRT book. Okay, you can take it from there and draw the diagram of Yuri Miller experiment. Important because they'll ask you. They just label this, for example, and they give a question mark. So you should know it is an electrode. In the board, they'll tell you to draw the experiment, draw the diagram, and explain. In objective type of question, they just mark gases. Which were the gases? Question mark. You understand? This kind of questions can come. Clear? Now, Urey Miller experiments. Let us study about it. You can draw this. It is given in your notebook, in your textbook. Sorry. So you can take it from there. So Urey Miller experiment, what did he did was he took the brown flask. Okay, he created the atmosphere, and this flask was 5 liters, 5 liters glass flask, and in this was an ocean for him. Okay, he created this was a 5 liter flask, and he created as an ocean, and he took the gases. Which are the gases? Methane, 2 in the ratio of 2 is to 1 is to 2. 2 is to 1 is to 2. Okay, this ratio he took the gases, and on the other side there was a round bottom which was containing a water, and it was boiling at very high temperature. The steam, the water vapors were sparkling onto this. So you had water vapors, you have gases, so you got that kind of atmosphere. Now, there was a heat, there was electric lightnings. To that, he used electrodes. Which were the electrodes? Two electrodes. He used two electrodes to provide that lightning of 75,000 volts intensity, so that it can get that atmosphere of lightning. You have lightning, you have sparks, you have gases, you have water vapors. So this was created, and this experiment was conducted for 18 days. 18 days. So after a while, after the mixing of gases with water, vapor, spark, and everything, this was sent to a condenser. It was sent to a condenser. When this was sent to a condenser, the water droplets were formed. These water droplets were, after few days, were analyzed. It was the water was collected from here, and it was analyzed. When you saw this, when you analyze this, you're able to find the organic compounds. This conclude that yes, the the whatever the Halden and Operan were stating were right. Due to this, the organic compounds were formed. After the organic, such as some of amino acids were also found, some of the sugars were also found. So this said that after the interaction, there might be a formation of these purines, pyrimidines, then RNA, DNA, and the prokaryote, eukaryote might have evolved. Did you understood what they did? Have you understood this part, the explanation part? This is given in your NCRT book. Ma'am, I can't hear you properly. Your voice is low. My voice is low. I'm screaming here. You cannot hear me. Who all cannot hear me? Others can hear me. Boiling water is that to give a water vapor. Tanika, I think you have a connectivity problem. Boiling water is to get the water vapors, sparkling the water vapors, because to create that water vapor. Stage, the connectivity is strong here. Other can listen to me. You just re-log in and check. Tanika and Tej re-log in and check. Condenser is to cool down, and then the water droplets were formed. These water droplets were analyzed in the lab to see whether those organic compounds were there which were formed in the chemical evolution. I don't know. If you can hear me, then you have to raise the volume of your speakers. Others can listen to me. Okay. Did you all understood this? So to provide that same thing, what happened in the atmosphere, he wanted to recreate it. That is what he started doing it. Thank you, Chinmay. Okay, a little soft, clear, but why is soft? I don't understand. I'm screaming. I cannot scream more. My vocal cord will stretch out then. Okay, so this was an experiment. Okay, what they did, write down here. Conducted an experiment, self-designed spark discharge apparatus in 1953. He conducted a physico-chemical test for origin of life. Miller created similar condition of primordial earth in the laboratory scale. He created electric discharge in a closed flask to raise the temperature around 800 degrees Celsius, because temperature was 800, right, in the primitive earth. So he created same, and then he used the methane, ammonia and hydrogen and water vapor inside the flask. He observed the formation of amino acid in the condensed liquid. So easy, simple. Sprua, any doubts? Did you understood the Yuri Miller experiment? Yes, any doubts? Madhura, clear? Yuri Miller experiment, Haldane and operant, what they did and what Yuri Miller did. If you're done writing, can I move ahead or do you want me to wait?
Ma'am, please wait.
Okay, right. Padma, done? You want me to wait? Okay. Do let me know once you're done. Okay, let's move to the next. Okay. Now, next after this, we are moving to the next important part of the evolution, that is evidence of evolution. Come on, write down all these points. We'll be discussing all these points. Evidence of evolution. The best evidence among this is paleontology evidence. What do you understand by paleontology? What do you understand by paleontology? Study of fossils. Very nice, Tisha. So you have, this was the first, this was the best evidence. Okay, so you will study each of them in detail. One is a morphological and anatomical evidence, embryological evidence, biochemical evidence, paleontology evidence, biogeographical evidence.
Ma'am, which slide are you showing?
Just a minute. I'm showing you the evidence of evolution. Come on, write down. Evidence of evolution. So we'll be studying all this evidence in detail. So the best evidence, important MCQ for your medical paper. Done? Next. Now, what is anatomy and the morphology of organism? Under this, we'll be studying a two form. One is homologous organ or structure. These, what is homologous? Under anatomy and the morphology, we'll be studying two categories. The first category is homologous organ or structure. These are the organs having same basic structures but different function. If you see the structure, the forelimb of man, you see the forelimb of cheetah or whale or bat, almost they look similar. The structure is same, but the function remains to be different. In man, we use for walking, in cheetah used for running, whale used for swimming, and bat used for flying. The function remain to be, such organs are called homologous organ. This is a very important favorite questions from the examiner. The homologous organ, cheetah and man, is a homologous or analogous. Many times the question is asked. You should know this. Clear? Did you understood what is homologous? Homologous matlab you have similar structures but functions remain to be different. Clear? Next, see all these examples are very important, my dear students. Then don't tell me, ma'am ne diya nahi hai, ma'am. You write it down or you it's a given. It's a picture from NCRT. If you remember all the picture from NCRT, all the captions from the NCRT, all the transcripts from the NCRT is very very important. Now you will not realize, ma'am तो ऐसे ही बोल रही होगी, कर रहे होंगे, लिख लेंगे, notes चाहिए तो नहीं लिख लेंगे. But when we do question papers, you can ask your Phoenix batch students, our Phoenix batch students. Okay, the notes में मैंने जितना how much content I have given, they are solving the papers now. They realize के how much important is my notes. 95% they are able to cover the question paper only based on my notes. You can ask them. That's the reason I keep on telling you whatever I give, please do. If I have written some star there, remember that star is important. If you think the ma'am is saying only because so that you can write notes, no, you can ask your seniors, Phoenix batch students, how important my notes is. They will tell you, because they are solving the questions of the previous years, and most of the questions we have covered in our notes. Next, the next example, the first example is what? The limbs of all the mammals. Next is mouth parts of insects. Mouth parts of insects, for example, you have cockroach and mosquito. Cockroach have they both have similar structure, but what do the difference is? Cockroach is in biting, if you remember, and what does mosquito do? Sucking, right? The function of this both remains same, but the structure will different. Other is sucking, but the operating the blood or the piercing, but the structure remains to be same. Is it clear? Are you all understanding? Any doubts until here? There should no doubt. There should not be a doubts. But still, if you have doubts, your doubts are welcome. I'll answer to your doubts. Next, thorns of bougainvillea plant and tendril cucurbita. See the axillary bud. This is the axillary bud, right? The axillary bud of this both, one is bougainvillea and other is cucurbita. The axillary bud in bougainvillea give rise to a thorn, whereas cucurbita give rise to tendrils. Both are coming from the similar structure, arising from the same point, but in one it acts like a protection, in other it helps in the climbing. So the functions remains to be different. Are you understanding? Yes or no? So these all are homologous. These all are homologous. So you have three examples. All the three examples under homologous organ is important. Please make a note, write down quickly. Piercing, piercing. Stage. Pierce, mosquito pierce. See, bougainvillea, you have, and you have tendrils, right? You have cucurbita. The axillary bud of bougainvillea give rise to thorn. The axillary bud of cucurbita give rise to tendrils. The functions, the structures remains to be the same. They are coming from axillary bud. But what is the function of thorn? For the protection. Whereas what is the function of tendrils? Help in climb. Right? Did you understood? Danika, are you all done with this slide? Can we move to the next? Very, very, very important. Always remember homologous is with divergent. Many times the question is asked. Divergent evolution. How you remember, I don't know, but you have to remember HD. You can remember it as HD. Short trick. HD. Okay, H for homologous, D for divergent evolution. Each and every paper you have this question. Okay.
Ma'am, could you please repeat this point?
Divergent evolution. Sorry.
Ma'am, could you please repeat this point again about divergent evolution?
I said homologous organ shows divergent evolution. They show divergent evolution. And the short trick to remember is HD. H is for homologous, D is for divergent. They both are associated. Clear, Tej?
Yes, ma'am.
Next you have analogous. Analogous have same function but the structure is different. Opposite. Analogous matlab structure. We are talking about the morphology only. Still we are talking about the morphology and anatomy, right? First we discuss about the homologous. Second we discuss about what? About analogous. So analogous having a different structure but same function. Can you see? Exactly opposite. For example, wings of butterfly, birds and bat. So what are these wings? Wings. If you see, the structure of butterfly is different. The bird structure is different. The bat structure is different. But what are they used for? They used for flying. The functions remains to the same. Did you getting the point? They converge towards one. That is aeration. Are you getting the point? So analogous is always convergent evolution. They're converging towards one. Convergent evolution. Very important question, my dear students. You have to know this. When you come to eye of an octopus and eye of a mammal, see, all the eyes are, the function is to see, but the structure remains to be different. We have a complex structure. The octopus is the structure is different, but the functions remain the same as to see. So here, this is again having a different structure, but the functions remain to be same. It's under analogous, which showing a convergent evolution. Is this point clear to all? Clear? Done? Any doubts? All examples important, ma'am. Can we remember just one example and sit? No. All examples, because sometimes they ask you this example, sometimes they ask you this example, but I'm trying to cover all the examples, possible examples. Next, flippers of penguins and dolphin. See, this penguins flippers different, dolphin flippers different structures, but both perform a similar function, which is help in swimming. Sweet potato and and which is that? Potato. Sweet is a root modification, structure is different. Potato is a stem modification, structure is different, but the function is what? Storage food. Clear? So all this come under convergent evolution. Very easy, very easy. And under this, there's one more. Just write down under what? Under mouth, under homologous. There's one more example. Sometime it is asked heart and brain of vertebrates. This is under, you have the structures, but function is same. Sorry, same structure but different. You have functions.
Ma'am, we have to write this under homologous, right?
Yeah, homologous. So this is about homologous and analogous, which is part of morphology and anatomy evidence. First is homologous, second is analogous. Now, third is atavism. Third is not atavism. We are reading vestigial. No, we'll read atavism. Third is atavism. Third is atavism. So what is atavism? Potato slide. Okay, Varun, can you see? How are you, Varun? Studying on the everyday basis? What was the point about heart and brain? They are under the homologous organ. They show divergent evolution. So atavism, or it is called as reversion. We'll do this and we'll finish. Okay. I know that from morning you have been taking classes, but somehow I like taking your class. So we keep on taking you extra classes. Keep on extra classes on you. Anyway, it's better for you. If you finish the portion, we get lots and lots of time for the revision, for the preparing, for both board and net. So you will have much and much time. You will be benefited. So with this, atavism will cover. Okay, we'll wind up today's class. So atavism or the revision is a sudden reoccurrence. Listen to this: sudden reoccurrence of ancestral character that has been long lost during the evolution. Like tails, for example, tail is present in the amphibians. For example, yeah. So or the reptiles. Okay, the tail is present in the reptiles. So this is you're getting into It's not in the human. We have a tailbone, but we do not have a tail. But some of the babies are born with the tail, which is an ancestral character. Are you getting the point? As the evolution, we lost the tail, but sudden reoccurrence of those ancestral character after long, that is called an atavism. For example, one is human tail, other is functional pinna. See, functional pinna, ear pinna, we have a vestigial pinna. Our pinna doesn't work, no function, it doesn't move. But this getting, some people are born with the functional ear pinna. Functional ear pinna. Example, long pointed teeth. If you see long pointed teeth, canine. Canine is seen in the our ancestors, very sharp, because they used to eat only meat, like they have very pointed canine teeth. But as the evolution, our canine is getting reduced, right? But some people are born with very sharp canine pointed teeth. That is an, I guess, sign for atavism. Thick body hair. A, B, C, D. Thick body hair. As we evolved, you know that we the body hair decreased. As we evolved, the hair was limited to certain area. But some people are born with thick body hair. That is an, showing the atavism. Additional mammae. Mammae are the nipples. So usually a human has two nipples, but some people are born with additional nipple, whether it can be a thoracic, whether it can be axillary, whether it can be abdominal. And for the next is rudimentary gill slits. We know that after the water, from the water we have evolved, and after the fishes or the frog, we gills were not there. There was the ancestral character, but some human beings are also born with the gill, rudimentary gill slits or the pharyngeal slits. So these all are the sign for the atavism. Atavism matlab sudden reoccurrence of the ancestral character that has been long last during the evolution. Did you all understood this? Do you think, ma'am, really this happened? Yes, this happens. Atavism happens. Any doubts? Anyone? Is everything clear? So with this, go through the things quickly. Everybody please go through the thing, what we studied today. Very easy concept. For you to understand, you need to keep on studying this chapter. You need to, because you have many things to remember here, but very interesting chapter. If you keep on studying, you will remember. If you think today I'll study, tomorrow I'll remove the book again after a week or after a month, then it's difficult to remember. It's not a disorder, Arya. It's not a disorder. Having a body hair is not a disorder. Having a pointed teeth is not a disorder. Some humans are still born with the human tail. Yes, there are cases. Okay. Then fatal. Madhura has no idea about it. I have no idea whether this can be removed. I have not read through it. You can just find out. Okay. 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 Any other doubts? Advait, are you there? Gaurav, are you there in the class? Is everything clear? Okay. So see you all in the next class. That is, I think, on Saturday we'll meet and we'll discuss more about evolution, a very interesting chapter. Until then, take care. Bye bye. See you all in the next class. Keep studying, my dear kids. You're welcome. Bye bye.